Hi everyone, welcome to Talk About Life. You can view this on YouTube, the channel of Talk About Life, and also on podcast Talk About Life. And today we've got Jasmin from the US. She's a woman entrepreneur, and I'm so inspired by women entrepreneurs. But before we get started, just want everyone to know who she is, and I want to know who she is, and I hope she wants to know me.
Yes.
Jasmin, so tell us about you.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much, Vicky, for having me on the show. And I think, one of the things that I would say right off the bat is that I am a multi-passionate person. So I started off in healthcare. I was a dental assistant, dental hygienist, and went into education, teaching in a college, wind up getting burnt out from working in a toxic work environment, and decided to take that leap into entrepreneurship. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that I had God-given talents, and I knew that I could possibly figure out something. And that's what I did. So it's been about 4.5 years of having my business. For the first 3.5 years, I focused on servicing just people in healthcare. And in 2020, I've pivoted to help entrepreneurial women like ourselves who have dealt with fear, self-doubt, who may have dealt with traumas in their life that kind of block them for pursuing their goals. And I help them get their business organized and get them to a place where they can scale to 100K or more.
Fantastic pitch and fantastic intro to yourself, and also a little bit of intro to the world about myself, my channel, and where I am. This is Singapore. And today is a Thursday evening, 10:07 p.m., 12th of November, and we're talking about 2020. So anyone who's tuning in 2021, the pandemic is already over.
Yes.
So we're now in the midst of history. So, this brought us together, in such a weird time of humanity. It brought us together. It brought me to you and you to me.
Yeah.
Distance is irrelevant, isn't a factor, and time isn't a factor on the internet.
Yep.
I mean, anyone can pick this up in 2021, 2022, or 10 years later. I mean, it's going to live on forever.
Yeah.
A little bit about Singapore to Jasmin is that if anyone has watched the show Crazy Rich Asians, it's actually filmed in Singapore. A little bit of promotion about Singapore. It's a little city-state of about 7 million people, made about 5 million, slightly less than 5 million locally born and bred, and then almost another 1/3 of them are foreigners. So it's a country that accepts differences. It's a country that accepts diversity, and as a country that not only accepts, embraces that. And for me, I love to talk to people of any part of the world. I mean, what you see is what you get. You don't get it, but if anyone wants to know a little bit about Singapore, you can't see this on podcast. There's no visual, but the movie Crazy Rich Asians, a little bit like extreme end of the show. It's not representative of reality. It's just a film, but you can kind of look at the place. I love my country. I love my people. People are generally very honest, straightforward, uncomplicated.
Yes.
Really simple people. I'm talking about simple in true sense of the word.
Yes.
People who are really uncomplicated. People who are unassuming. People who don't try to put up a facade. It takes too much of your time. But generally people, because this is a country that is full of diversity in a little island, people are respectful of each other. We are really careful about what we say. And we are
Mm,
very sensitive to our neighbors. I mean, in every definition of the word neighbor, physical neighbors, people who are living
yes.
beside you,
Yes.
neighbors at work, neighbors as in your friends, neighbors who are just people in the street, or neighbors who are just people that you don't even see.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about the context of the world, the neighborhood is the
Yes.
world is our neighborhood. So it's a
Yeah.
place whereby I love the people, um, I love the culture. We have emerged, through a very short history, about 55 years of nation building. We are kind of like have this mix of a kind of like a mixture of amalgamation of different kinds of culture,
Yeah.
language, uh, faith, religion. So there's a
Yeah.
real diversity here. Something I really like and I really appreciate when I get out of the country, I don't see it in many parts of the world, is that you can share a table with people of different faith.
Hmm.
You can be best friends with people of different faith.
Yeah.
You can really literally be best friends. I mean, I've got best friends who are of different faith. It doesn't matter. I mean, we don't kill each other over anything. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would kill the person if the person steals my husband.
Yeah.
Period. You know what I'm trying to say, Jasmine? You know what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
Jasmine?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. It's really
um,
nice. I mean, just hearing you talk, I'm just like, wow. I've never even thought about like traveling that far, but I would
yeah.
love.
It
My
takes
husband.
24 hours to reach here.
Wow. 24
Yeah,
hours.
you got to stop over at Tokyo, try
Okay.
change your flight, and refill the fuel, the jet fuel, and
Yeah.
then come here to Singapore. So that takes about 24 hours or even a bit more, because you're talking about transit time. You're talking about if you're another coming part, the inner part of the US, and you got to take a local domestic flight, it can take
Yep.
3 days, you know.
Yeah.
But once you're in Singapore, because it's so small, it's an island, you can take the flight anywhere. Because once you
Mm.
leave this island, it's just anywhere, right? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so our neighbors are Malaysia,
Hmm.
Indonesia, and I think one of your past presidents, Barack Obama, was brought up here in Indonesia. And then we are about 7 hours from Australia. Myself, I'm a Christian, but my best friend is Muslim. No
Hmm.
problem. My best friends are Hindus. No problem at all. We love each other.
Yeah.
I mean, we love each other to death. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
and my parents were Buddhists. My sister is Buddhist, and there are Taoists, my neighbors, etc. So it's like a melting pot of people who know how to be sensitive and
Yeah.
respectful, and um, and just mind your own business. I think I like that. It's like you just mind your own business. If you want to help, you reach out. But for me, I don't want to find out about gossips. I just want to know that, are you in help? Are you in pain? Do you need help? Is
Yeah.
there something I can do? But I don't need to know your grandmother's story. Like, it's not a place whereby people are gossips.
Yeah.
It's a place whereby people just respect that you've got the problems. And
Hmm.
I know that. If you ever need me, I'll be there. I mean, I kind of
Right.
like the simplicity of that.
Yeah.
And I hope the world moves towards that. I'm not saying that we're perfect. I mean, this place, people complain a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we got a culture of complaining all over the world, honestly. When you speaking, it reminds me a little bit about where my husband's from. He's from South America, a small, very small country that's
Yeah,
near the equator. It's very hot. And he was born and raised in Suriname. And so what you're explaining
Sierra Leone.
reminds me, yeah, it reminds
Yeah,
me of that. Like it's very beautiful. There's a lot of untouched Amazon forest there. It's very diverse. I mean, on the same road, you can see
yeah.
a church and a Buddhist temple and, a synagogue. I mean,
Lined up, lined up each
lined up on
by
the
side.
same
Yeah,
street, on the
yeah.
same street.
Yeah, it's
So
almost
it's
literally
nice.
like that in Singapore, except we don't
Mhm.
have forests because it's just populated by people.
Yeah, yeah,
The trees
yeah.
are cut down. I'm sorry, they've got to make space Likewise, the animals, they've got to go.
Right, right.
I would say that for you and for the listeners, a little bit about promotion, about Singapore. Now the borders are closed. People
Hmm.
are facing hardships.
Yeah,
Economy is in the doldrums. Jobs are being threatened. Businesses have to reinvent themselves
yep,
and find new spaces. It's a really tough time for a lot of people,
yeah,
and tough times in terms of socially, the pandemic situation. People are confined,
yeah,
restrained. People
yep,
are going crazy. It gets into their minds. And then, money wise, businesses, jobs are threatened. You don't know when your paycheck is going to come. We're really facing a lot of uh, really, really huge threats. It's a very perilous situation for any country. So, for me today to invite you to the show, to the program, to talk about life, literally, we really are talking about life. And I want to hear from you, from a woman in the new millennium, a beautiful woman like you, and I love your nails, killer nails. Tell us how about your business without any divulging confidentiality. Tell us about your business. Tell us about the. It's not going to be like smooth sailing, right? It's not going to be like a bed of roses. I really like to hear people who have emerged from those times of struggle, the rite of passage of life to become stronger, especially
hmm,
for a woman. Like you are telling me that what you said in your intro. That is exactly what I want to hear from you. But within the next probably less than 30 minutes, it's hard to cover everything. I have to invite you back. But the things that you spoke about. Uh, the affirmation of a woman, right? Establishing of your self-belief as a woman,
hmm,
establishing yourself and your role and your place in the world as a woman, and compounded that with the difficulty of being an entrepreneur, where there are no handouts, no free lunch.
hmm, hmm. Yeah, yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's when the rubber hits the road, right? That's what the
Yeah.
Americans say, right? That's when you go through the fire, it's how you become the phoenix. So I really, really am so grateful for you to be here, Jasmine. You don't know how much I'm so inspired by women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me some of your story, how you started, were there doubts, uncertainties, people who doubted you? Did you have self-doubt? Did you emerge from there? When things are just, the current is against you, the plans were not folding out the way you wanted. Um, what are the things what are the recipes, the ingredients of the recipe to let you keep on going and not giving up and then building something from nothing? Then that's an art and that's a
Yeah,
science and
yeah.
that's a creative process. And not only that, it takes so much perseverance, the determination, the unspoken um, I should say, the unspoken resources that you need to draw from yourself.
Hmm.
Um, how do I tell you your story?
Yeah.
Tell us.
So, I want the viewers to understand that when it comes to making this decision to have a business, this is a true spiritual journey. And what I mean by that is that if you don't have clarity on exactly who you are, you will find out in having a business. It is one of the most challenging experiences. However, it can be extremely rewarding. Um, when I started my business, I left a toxic work environment. It was a self-preservation decision. It was either I stay there or continue to get sick and continue to go to the hospital and then eventually be hospitalized. So it was, I had to leave. Now, when I started my business, I didn't have a bunch of loans that I took out for the business. I bootstrapped it. In fact, my first year in business, I made $0. Now, at that time, when I had my business, I had 2 young children, and I also was in graduate school working on my master's degree. So I had a lot of wheels spinning at the same time. Now, what I need you all to understand is that, yes, there were people that were doubting me, and you will have people who doubt you. That would be people that care about you, that want to see you successful, and then there'll be those that are just haters, right? But for me, the biggest challenge I had was conquering myself. I grew up in a disadvantaged background where I didn't have much. I grew up with a single parent. We dealt with lots of struggles. So when I was a child, what I viewed as a child, that was normal for me. That was reality, struggle, scarcity. Me having a business and trying to build it to be profitable was something that I had never seen. And there was a lot of doubts that made me feel like this isn't possible for me. How is this possible? So I said, so the biggest thing that I needed to figure out at the very beginning of my business was who I was, separate from being a mother and being a wife. And so I was blessed with an opportunity to work with an amazing balance coach that helped me to say that, hi, I'm Jasmin Haley. I'm enough, right? I don't need this or that to be worthy of success. And from there, I continued to grow my business and understand what my strengths are and understand how to lean upon those strengths. And I would say the biggest difficulty for most women in business is our confidence level and the mind trash that we have
Mind trash.
already. Yeah, the baggage we're bringing from past experiences, from our own childhood, from poor relationships, whatever it is that impacts our business. And what we fail to realize is that it's more than the capital that you save. It's more than the strategy that you may learn. It's the inner work that has to be done first, because you're not going to be able to persevere through the challenges, through the death valleys of there's death valleys in entrepreneurship where it is just like, man, oh my word, it's one of the most trying times. Do you have faith enough, right? Do you trust yourself enough to push through that? And so that's why many people who are entrepreneurs, when it gets tough, if that's not secure, if that foundation isn't strong, they many of them decide to say, oh, well, there's something wrong with me. And no, this is a life that we have chosen with entrepreneurship. And there's some great things that happen along the way. So my first year, it was $0. My second year, I made like $23,000 or something like that. It was very small. My third year, it was 78. And then my fourth year was 113K. So, and now I'm working towards my fifth. So, I have big audacious goals. And when I didn't see things working out the way I would envision, you have to be flexible. You have to have grit. You have to have a bigger purpose than the money coming in at first. It will come. But notice I said my first year was $0. And it started slowly growing, slowly, gradually growing. But each of those steps, though, that were taken, I would hire someone. I would hire a coach, to help me get out of the tumbleweeds of my head, to know that I was okay, to know that I was deserving. Here's some strategy. Here's where you need to focus. And so that's why I do what I do, because statistically in the US, only 90% of entrepreneurs that are female entrepreneurs will not make it to 100K. They're just not going to make it. And that's such a big deal, because 100K is necessary to be able to replace income from your previous job, to be able to take care of your family, to be able to hire and outsource as needed. So many of us don't even reach that. And why is that the case? Like, why? Well, we have so much on our plate. As caregivers, we're so used to caring for other people and not caring for ourselves, to choose ourselves first. So, you know, choosing myself and saying, I'm going to take better care of myself. I'm going to take this break, you know, makes me a better wife. It makes me a better mother. And my husband was able to see that, because now when I say, hey, I need to take off for about 2 days and go away, he's like, okay, he understands. And I think, you know, it takes a measure of boundaries. Many of us don't have boundaries. Many of us don't know who we are. Many of us haven't taken that time to really do that deep dive in a work to build a business.
Well said. And you know what? You brought up a lot of things that each part could be an episode. I like the thing that you said, that entrepreneurship, you know, you go through that fire, you know, that sometimes there's a wall, you hit that wall, you know. Yeah. And what sustained you was, it can't be just the money. What sustained you must be much bigger for you to move ahead. And I also like the way you say the trash, right? You bring a lot of baggages with you. And also you said about you have to know yourself, and entrepreneurship, it will be the phase whereby you unravel everything out.
Yep, you see what you like and you don't like. You see what you like and you don't like.
Yes.
About yourself.
The kind of work that comes out. And you know what about and I like what you say about believing in yourself, and that's the test. And I'm very sure, and this is something that there's so many things I want to ask you, but because of the priorities and also the time limit for this episode with you, that I treasure so much, I want you to talk about knowing yourself first, and then how does knowing yourself kind of helps to establish your business, and also help you when the times are rough. Tell us.